The crisp autumn air nipped at my cheeks as I loaded my gear into the van. Nashville was alive with the spirit of fall, but my mind was elsewhere. I'm Georgia Thompson, 32, blonde hair, green eyes, and a reputation as one of the city's top photographers. But today, all that mattered was the rural photo shoot ahead, and the gnawing emptiness in my chest need a hand with that. Miss Thompson, a voice cut through my reverie. I turned to see a petite woman with silky black hair and warm brown eyes, my new assistant. I presumed you must be Mia, I said, offering a smile, and please call me Georgia. As she helped me load the last of the equipment, our hands brushed a jolt of electricity shot through me, catching me off guard. I brushed it off as static, but couldn't help noticing the way Mia's eyes lingered on mine. The drive to the countryside was filled with small talk. Mia was 28, fresh out of art school, and eager to learn. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and I found myself relaxing in her presence. We arrived at the location just as the sun was painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, perfect lighting for the Thanksgiving-themed shoot. I had planned as I set up my camera. Mia flitted around arranging props and chatting with our models. A local family dressed in their holiday best. All right, everyone, I called out, letting capture some magic as I worked. I couldn't help but notice Mia's graceful movements in my peripheral vision. She anticipated my needs before I could voice them, handing me lenses and adjusting lighting with an intuition that surprised me. You're a natural, I commented during a break. Mia's face lit up. I've admired your work for years. It's an honor to assist you. Something in her tone made me pause. There was an intensity in her gaze that I couldn't quite decipher. I felt a warmth creep up my neck and quickly turned back to my camera. As the shoot progressed, the family's genuine joy became infectious. Mia suggested incorporating some of the fallen leaves into the shots, and the results were stunning. Her creative input elevated the entire session. That's a wrap, I announced as the sun dipped below the horizon. The family thanked us profusely, and as they drove away, Mia and I were left alone in the growing twilight. Want to grab a drink? The words were out of my mouth before I could stop them to celebrate a successful shoot. I added hastily. Mia's smile was dazzling. I'd love to. We found a cozy bar on the outskirts of town. Over whiskey sours, we discussed our shared passion for photography. Mia's eyes sparkled as she talked about her dreams of becoming a renowned artist herself someday. What about you, Georgia? She asked, leaning in close. Any unfulfilled dreams? I hesitated, swirling the ice in my glass. Sometimes I wonder if I've sacrificed too much for my career. Relationships, a family. Mia's hand found mine on the table. It's never too late to find love, she said softly. Our eyes met, and for a moment the world seemed to stand still, the air between youths crackled with an energy I couldn't explain. I pulled my hand away, suddenly aware of how fast my heart was beating. We should head back, I said, my voice sounding strained even to my own ears. Big day tomorrow with the Thanksgiving parade shoot. As we drove back to the city, the silence was thick with unspoken words. I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted between us. When I dropped Mia off at her apartment, our goodbye felt loaded with possibility. That night, as I tossed and turned in bed, images of Mia's smile and the warmth of her touch played on repeat in my mind. What was happening to me? I'd never felt this way about a woman before. The thought both thrilled and terrified me. Little did I know this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself and love. The Thanksgiving parade shoot was a whirlwind of color, noise, and excitement. I was in my element, capturing the joy on children's faces and the pride of the marching bands. But every time I lowered my camera, my eyes seemed to find Mia. She moved through the crowd with grace, adjusting lighting and ushering subjects into place. Her black hair gleamed in the autumn sunlight, and more than once I caught myself admiring the curve of her neck, the fullness of her lips. Damn it, Thompson, I muttered to myself. Focus on the job. But focusing was becoming increasingly difficult as the day wore on. I found myself making rookie mistakes, forgetting to adjust My aperture missing key shots, Mia was there each time, gently reminding me or capturing the moment herself with her and I back at the studio. I threw myself into editing, hoping the familiar routine would clear my head, but even hear Mia's presence was a distraction. She sat close her shoulder, occasionally brushing mine as we pored over the shots together. "This one's gorgeous," she said, pointing to an image of a young girl tossing confetti. The joy in her eyes is palpable. I nodded, acutely aware of Mia's scent, a subtle mix of lavender and something uniquely her. "You've got a good eye," I replied, my voice huskier than I intended. Our eyes met, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. The air between us seemed to crackle with electricity. Mia's gaze dropped to my lips, and I found myself leaning in. The sharp ring of my phone shattered the moment. I jumped back, my heart racing as I answered the call. It was a client, oblivious to the moment. They'd interrupted as night fell, the office emptied, leaving Mia and me alone. The silence was thick with unspoken words and suppressed desires. Want to order, and Mia suggested we could go over the rest of the shots. I knew I should say no, should maintain some professional distance, but the thought of being alone with her, away from prying eyes, was too tempting to resist. "Sure," I heard myself say. "Chinese, okay." Hours later, empty takeout containers littered my desk, and we barely made a dent in the editing. Instead, we talked, really talked. Mia told me about growing up in a conservative family, about realizing she was gay in college, and the struggle to come out to her parents. I found myself opening up about my own past failed relationships, the pressure to conform to society's expectations. "I've always envied people who know exactly who they are," I admitted, swirling the dregs of my wine. "Sometimes I feel like I'm still trying to figure it out." Mia's hand found mine, her touch sending sparks through my body. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing," she said softly, being open to new experiences, new feelings. Our eyes met, and this time there was no phone to interrupt us. Mia leaned in, her lips parting slightly. Every fiber of my being screamed to close the distance, to taste those tempting lips, but at the last moment I pulled away. I can't," I stammered, rising from my chair. "I'm your boss, Mia. It's not right." Hurt flashed in her eyes, quickly replaced by understanding. "I'm sorry," she said, gathering her things. "I shouldn't have assumed." No, I wanted to explain, to tell her that it wasn't her, that I was just confused, scared, but the words wouldn't come. Mia paused at the door, her hand on the knob. "For what it's worth, Georgia," she said quietly, "I think you're incredible, and I think you know exactly who you are. You're just afraid to admit it." With that, she was gone, leaving me alone with my turbulent thoughts and the lingering scent of her perfume. I barely slept that night, tossing and turning as my mind replayed every moment with Maya, her smile, her laugh, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about photography, the softness of her hand on mine, the anticipation in her gaze as she leaned in to kiss me. By morning, I was a mess of confusion and desire. I arrived at the studio early, determined to bury myself in work and forget about the storm of emotions raging inside me. But as soon as Mia walked in, looking gorgeous, even in her casual jeans and t-shirt, I knew it was hopeless. One look from her, and all my carefully constructed walls came tumbling down. "Mia," I said, my voice barely above a whisper, "can we talk?" She nodded, following me into the dark room as the red light bathed. Using its soft glow, I felt my resolve strengthen. It was time to stop running from the truth about last night, I began, but Mia cut me off. "Georgia, you don't have to explain. I understand if you're not interested, but that's just it." I interrupted, taking a step closer. "I am interested more than I've ever been interested in anyone, and it terrifies me." Mia's eyes widened, hope blooming in their depths. "You mean?" I nodded, closing the distance between us. "I'm tired of being afraid," I whispered. "I want to be brave. I want you." This time, when our lips met, there was no hesitation, no interruption, just the sweet, intoxicating taste of possibility and the promise of something beautiful beginning. The days following our kiss in the dark room were a whirlwind of stolen glances, lingering touches, and an undercurrent of desire that threatened to consume me. Mia and I tried to maintain a semblance of professionalism at work, but it was becoming increasingly difficult every time. She handed me a lens or adjusted a light. The brush of her fingers against my skin sent shivers down my spine. I found myself making excuses to be near her, to breathe in her intoxicating scent and bask in the warmth of her smile. But with the excitement came a gnawing anxiety. What did this mean for me, for my identity? I'd spent my entire adult life thinking I was straight, and now here I was daydreaming about kissing my female assistant. One evening, as we were packing up after a long day of shoots, I finally voiced my concerns. Mia, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. What are we doing? She paused, a camera bag halfway to her shoulder. What do you mean? I gestured vaguely between us, this us. I've never felt this way about a woman before. I'm not sure how to handle it. Mia's expression softened. She sat down the bag and took my hands in hers. Georgia, sexuality isn't always black and white. It's okay to be unsure, to be exploring. What matters is how you feel when we're together. Her words washed over me like a balm, soothing my frayed nerves. And how do you feel? I asked, my heart pounding. Mia's answer came in the form of a kiss, soft and sweet at first, then deepening with a passion that took my breath away. When we finally heard it, both of us were breathing heavily. Does that answer your question? Mia asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in days. I think I might need a little more convincing, I teased, pulling her in for another kiss. We agreed to keep our budding relationship a secret from our colleagues, at least for now. It wasn't just about maintaining professionalism. I needed time to come to terms with this new aspect of myself before facing the inevitable questions and judgments from others. But oh, the thrill of our secret. Every shared glance across the studio felt like a private joke. Every accidental touch, a delicious transgression. We started finding excuses to work late, revving in the privacy of the empty office one night as we were reviewing photos. From our latest shoot, Mia's hand found its way to my thigh, the warmth of her touch sent a jolt of electricity through my body. Mia, I breathed, my voice husky with desire. She looked up at me, her brown eyes dark with want. Yes, Georgia, I think. I'm ready to take this further. The words had barely left my mouth before Mia's lips were on mine, hungry and insistent. I tangled my fingers in her silky black hair, pulling her closer as our kisses grew more heated. Somehow we made it to the couch. In my office, a tangle of limbs and half-removed clothing, Mia's hands explored my body with a reverence that brought tears to my eyes. Each touch, each kiss was a revelation, awakening parts of me I never knew existed as we lay together afterward. Our bodies intertwined. I marveled at how right it felt. All my doubts and fears seemed to melt away in the warmth of Mia's embrace. You okay? Mia asked, tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. I smiled, feeling more content than I had in years. More than okay, I'm happy. The next few weeks were a blur of stolen moments and secret review. We'd sneak kisses in the supply closet, exchange heated glances during meetings, and rush through our work so we could spend our evenings exploring this new exciting dimension of our relationship. But as our connection deepened, so did my anxiety about keeping it hidden. I caught myself wanting to hold Mia's hand in public, to introduce her as my girlfriend at industry events. The weight of our secret was starting to take its toll. It all came to a head during a high-profile fashion shoot. The studio was buzzing with model stylists and clients. Mia and I were professional as ever, but the tension between us was palpable. During a break in the shoot, I retreated to the dressing room to adjust some equipment. Maya followed, closing the door behind her. You okay? She asked, concern etched on her beautiful face. You seem tense, I sighed, setting down the light meter. I'm just tired of hiding. I guess I want to be able to love you openly without worrying about who might see or what they might think. Mia's eyes widened at the word love. It had slipped out unintentionally, but I realized with a start that it was true. I was in love with Mia Chan before I could process this revelation. Mia had crossed the room and pulled me into a passionate kiss. I melted into her embrace, all thoughts of the shoot forgotten. We were so lost in each. Other that we didn't hear the door open, it wasn't until we heard a gasp that we broke apart, turning to see one of the models standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with shock. I'm sorry, she stammered, backing out of the room. I didn't mean to interrupt. The door closed behind her, leaving Mia and me staring at each other. In stunned silence, our secret was out, and there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. As we stood there, hearts racing, I realized that a part of me felt relieved. No more hiding, no more sneaking around. Whatever came next, we would face it. Together, I took Mia's hand, squeezing it gently, ready to face the music. I asked, she smiled, her love and support shining in her eyes. With you, always hand in hand, we walked out of the dressing room, ready to embrace our truth and face whatever challenges lay ahead. The moment Maya and I stepped out of that dressing room, hand in hand, it felt like the entire world shifted on its axis. The bustling studio felt eerily silent, all eyes fixed on us. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. But Mia's steady press beside me gave me strength. All right, everyone, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. Show's over. We've got a shoot to finish for a moment. No one moved then, like a spell breaking the room erupted into a flurry of activity, whispers and glances followed us as we made our way back to the set. But I held my head high. This was who I was now, Georgia Thompson, talented photographer and woman in love with her assistant. As we resumed the shoot, I could feel a new energy coursing through me. My commands were sharper, my vision clearer. It was as if a weight had been lifted, allowing my creativity to soar to new heights. Mia, too, seemed to glow with a newfound confidence. She anticipated my needs with an almost telepathic precision, her subtle adjustments elevating each shot from good to extraordinary. Damn. Georgia, our lead model, whispered during a costume change, whatever's going on with you two, it's magic. These shots are fire. I caught Mia's eye across the room. Smiled she. Was right. It was magic. As the day wore on, the initial shock wore off, replaced by a grudging respect from the crew. By the time we wrapped, there was an almost celebratory atmosphere in the studio. Drinks, one of the stylists suggested. I think we've all earned it after today. I hesitated, looking at Mia. She nodded encouragingly. Why not, I said. First round's on me. The bar was crowded, filled with the afterwork crowd. Refuge from the autumn chill, our group squeezed into a corner. Goose bodies pressed close in the tight space. I reveled in the feeling of Mia's thigh against mine, no longer needing to hide our connection. As the alcohol flowed, so did the questions. How long had we been together? How did it start? Was this why my recent work had been so inspired? I answered as honestly as I could, Mia chiming. And with her perspective, it felt liberating to finally speak our truth, to share the joy we'd found in each other. I've got to say, our makeup artist slurred several drinks, and you two are hot together, like seriously hot. I felt a blush creep up my neck, but Mia just laughed, wrapping an arm around my waist. Trust me, she said, her eyes twinkling. You have no idea. The heat in her gaze sent a shiver down my spine. Suddenly, the crowded bar felt stifling. I think we're going to call it a night, I announced, standing up, perhaps a bit too quickly. See you all tomorrow. We barely made it out of the bar before Mia pulled me into a shadowy alcove, her lips crashing against mine. The kiss was hungry, desperate, filled with all the passion we'd been holding back all day. Your place or mine? Mia gasped. When we finally came up for areas, I replied without hesitation. It's closer. The cab ride to Mia's apartment was torture. Our hands wandering, teasing, stoking the fire between us. By the time we stumbled through her door, we were both half mad with desire. What followed was a night of passion unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Mia's touch set my skin ablaze, her kisses igniting a hunger I never knew I possessed. We explored each other's bodies with a fervor that bordered on worship, discovering new depths of pleasure and intimacy as we lay tangled in Maya's sheets. Afterward, our bodies slick with sweat and satisfaction, I marveled at how much my life had changed in such a short time. What do you think? King Mia murmured, tracing lazy patterns on my bare skin. I turned to face her, drinking in the sight of her flushed cheeks and salt hair. I'm thinking that I've never been happier. I replied honestly, and that I'm a little terrified by how much I love you. Mia's eyes widened, then soft with emotion. I love you too, Georgia, she whispered, pulling me in for a tender kiss. The next morning, we arrived at the studio together, our fingers intertwined. The whispers started up again, but this time they were tinged with a sort of OD respect as we set up for the day's shoot. I could feel eyes on us, studying our interactions with newfound interest, but instead of making me uncomfortable, it filled me with pride. Let them look, I thought, let them see what true partnership, true love looks like. The shoot that day was for a high-end jewelry campaign. As I directed the models, I found myself drawing inspiration from my relationship with Mia. Each pose I suggested was infused with the tenderness, the passion, the deep connection we shared. These are stunning, the client said, looking over my shoulder at the previews. You've really captured the essence of love here. I smiled, catching Mia's eye across the room. I've had some recent inspiration, I replied as the day progressed. I noticed a shift in the atmosphere of the studio. The initial shock and gossip had given way to a sort of collective shrug. We were still Georgia and Mia, still damn good at our jobs. Our relationship was just another fact, no more remarkable than the color of the sky, but for us everything had changed. Every shared glance held a world of meaning, every casual touch, a promise of more to come. We were no longer hiding, no longer holding back. We were free to love each other openly, wholly, without reservation. As we packed up at the end of the day, Mia came up behind me, wrapping her arms around my waist. So she murmured in my ear, think the industry's ready for Nashville's hottest new power couple. I turned in her arms, grinning, honey, they better be, because we're just getting started, with a laugh. Mia pulled me in for a kiss right there in the middle of the studio. And as our colleagues cheered and Wolf whistled around, I knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, we'd face them together. Our love was our strength, our passion, our fuel, and nothing could stop us. Now the weeks following our public revelation flew by in a whirlwind of work and passion. And I fell into a comfortable rhythm, our personal and professional lives intertwining in a dance of creativity and love. The studio buzzed with a new energy, our relationships seeming to inspire everyone around us. But as much as I was reveling in our newfound openness, a part of me craved something more intimate, something just for us. So when a rare free evening presented itself, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Mia, I said, catching her as she was packing up her gear. Dinner at my place tonight. Her eyes lit up, a smile spreading across her face. I thought you'd never asked. The anticipation built throughout the day, my mind wandering to thoughts of Mia's soft skin, her intoxicating scent. By the time we reached my apartment, the air between us was charged with electricity. I fumbled with my keys, hyper aware of Mia's presence behind me. As soon as the door closed, she pressed me against it, her lips capturing mine in a searing kiss. What happened to dinner? I gasped when we came up for air. Mia's eyes sparkled with mischief. I thought I'd start with dessert, but I had other plans. Summoning all my willpower, I gently pushed her back. Patience, love. I want to do this right. I led her to the living room, where I'd set up a small table for 2 candles flickered, casting a warm glow over the carefully arranged place settings. Soft jazz played in the background, filling the air with mellow notes. Mia's eyes widened as she took in the scene. Georgia, this is beautiful. I felt a blush creep up my neck. I wanted to do something special just for us. As we sat down to eat, I marveled at how natural it felt, sharing a meal in the intimacy of my home. We talked about everything and nothing, our conversation flowing as easily as the wine I'd chosen for the occasion. Mia said, reaching across the table to take my hand. I never thought I could be this happy. The vulnerability in her voice made my heart ache. I brought her hand to my lips, pressing a soft kiss to her knuckles. Neither, I admitted. You've changed everything, Mia. As the candlelight flickered, casting dancing Shadows across Mia's face, I felt a surge of emotion so powerful it almost overwhelmed me. This woman had upended my world, challenged everything. I thought I knew about myself, and I'd never been more grateful for anything in my life. Without thinking, I rose from my chair, pulling Mia to her feet. She came willingly, her body molding to mine, as if we were two pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. Dance with me, I whispered, swaying gently to the music. Mia's arms wrapped around my neck, her fingers playing with the short hairs at my nape. We moved together, our bodies in perfect SNC, the rest of the world fading away, until it was just us, just this moment. As the song changed, Mia's hands began to wander, tracing patterns down my back, across my hips, her touch left trails of fire in its wake, igniting a hunger that had been simmering all evening. I captured her lips in a kiss, pouring all my love, all my desire into it. Mia responded with equal fervor, her fingers tangling in my hair. As she pressed herself closer, we stumbled towards the bedroom, shedding clothes as we went. By the time we tumbled onto the bed, we were both naked, skin flushed with desire. I took my time exploring Mia's body, mapping every curve, every dip with my hands and mouth. Her sighs of pleasure were like music spurring Mia, urging me to draw more of those beautiful sounds from her lips. When I finally let my fingers slip between her thighs, Mia arched off the bed, a low moan escaping her. Georgia, she gasped, her eyes dark with need, please. I obliged, setting a rhythm that had Mia writhing beneath me, her hands clutching at the sheets as I felt her getting close. I leaned down, capturing a nipple between my lips. Mia came with a cry, her body shuddering with the force of her orgasm. I held her through it, peppering her face with soft kisses as she came down from her high. But Mia wasn't content to be the only one receiving pleasure. With a wicked grin, she flipped us over, pinning me to the bed. My turn. She purred before beginning her own exploration of my body. What followed was a night of passion unlike anything I'd ever experienced. We made love over and over, learning each other's bodies, discovering new ways to bring each other pleasure. By the time we finally collapsed, spent and satisfied, the first light of dawn was peeking through the curtains. As we lay tangled together, our bodies slick with sweat and the evidence of our love making, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. This was where I belonged, where I was always meant to be. I love you, I murmured, pressing a kiss to Mia's forehead. She snuggled closer, her arm tightening around my waist. I love you too, she replied, her voice heavy with sleep. We dozed off like that, wrapped in each other's arms, content in the knowledge that we'd found something rare and precious in each other. When we finally roused ourselves, the sun was high in the sky. We shared a lazy shower, trading soft kisses and gentle touches before reluctantly getting dressed for the day. As we made our way to the studio, hand in hand, I couldn't stop smiling. The world seemed brighter, somehow more vibrant, every color more intense, every sensation heightened. The shoot that day was for a high-end lingerie brand. As I directed the models, I found myself drawing inspiration from the night before, channeling the intimacy and passion Mia and I had shared into the poses and lighting. These are incredible, Georgia, the client gushed, looking over the first batch of photos. There's such a sense of intimacy, of real connection. I caught Mia's eye across the studio and winked. If only they knew. As the day wore on, I found myself constantly aware of Mia's presence. Every time our eyes met, every casual touch as she handed me equipment sent a thrill through me. It was as if our night together had awakened something in me, a hunger that couldn't be sated. By the time we wrapped for the day, the tension between us was palpable. As soon as the last crew member left, Mia was in my arms, her lips finding mine in a heated kiss. Your place her mind, she gasped when we came up for air. I grinned, already pulling her towards the door. Doesn't matter as long as I get to have you. As we stumbled out of the studio, giggling like love-struck teenagers, I marveled at how much my life had changed. Just a few months ago, I'd been lost, unsure of who I was or what I wanted. Now, with Mia by my side, I'd never felt more certain. We're alive. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together. Our love was our strength, our passion, our guide, and I couldn't wait to see where this journey would take us next life. With Mia was a dream I never wanted to wake up from. Our days were filled with creativity and passion, our nights with tender moments and fiery encounters. The world of photography had never felt so vibrant. So alive it was, as if Mia's presence had adjusted my lens, bringing everything into sharper focus. But as the old saying goes, when things seem too good to be true, they often are. It started with a phone call. I was in the middle of a shoot when my cell buzzed, insistently annoyed. I glanced at the screen, ready to silence it, the name flashing. There made my blood run cold. Jake. Jake was my ex, the one who'd left me heartbroken and doubting everything about myself, the one I thought I'd finally put behind me. I need to take this, I muttered to Mia, stepping out of the studio. Georgia, baby. It's been too long, Jake's voice boomed through the speaker. I gritted my teeth. What do you want, Jake? Can a guy call to catch up with his favorite girl? I'm not your girl anymore. Jake, I haven't been for a long time. There was a pause, then a chuckle. That sent shivers down my spine. That's not what I hear word on the street. Is you're shacking up with your little assistant. What's her name? Mia, my heart stopped. How did he know? That's none of your business, I snapped. Oh, but it is. Jake's voice turned cold. You see, I'm back in town, and I think it's time we had a little chat about your lifestyle choices. The threat in his words was unmistakable. Abel. I ended the call, my hands shaking. When I returned to the studio, Mia took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. I brushed off her concerns, forcing myself to focus on the shoot, but inside, I was in turmoil that night. As Mia and I lay in bed, I couldn't keep it in anymore. I told her everything about Jake, our tumultuous relationship, the emotional manipulation, the way he'd left me questioning my worth, and now he's back. I finished, my voice barely above whisper. He knows about us, Mia, and he's not happy. Mia's arms tightened around me. We'll face this together, she said fiercely. I won't let him hurt you, but Jake wasn't one to be deterred. Over the next few days, he seemed to be everywhere. I'd spot him across the street from the studio, lurking in the shadows. He'd send cryptic texts hinting at things he could reveal about my past. The final straw came during a high-profile shoot. As I was setting up, I noticed the client looking at his phone, his brow furrowed. Is everything all right? I asked. He looked up, his expression a mix of disgust and disappointment. I'm not sure. We can work together, Miss Thompson. I've received some concerning information about your personal life. My heart sank. I knew without asking that Jake was behind this that night. Mia and I had a long, painful conversation. We both knew that as long as Jake was around, he'd keep causing trouble. He'd keep threatening my career, our relationship, everything we'd built together. Maybe. I said the words, tasting like ash in my mouth. Maybe we should take a break just until I can sort this out. Mia's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. If that's what you think is best. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life. I threw myself into work, taking on more projects than ever before. But without Mia by my side, everything felt hollow. I confronted Jake, told him to back off, or I'd get a restraining order. He just laughed. He'll come back to me eventually, Georgia, he said. You always do, but he was wrong, because even in our separation, Mia and I found ways to stay connected. Late night phone calls, where we'd talk for hours about nothing and everything. Secret messages hidden in the metadata of the photos we worked on separately, each little connection a reminder of what we were fighting for. And as the days passed, I felt my resolve strengthening. Jake's presence, once so intimidating, began to feel pathetic. I realized that he only had power over me if I gave it to him. It all came to a head at a charity gala. I was there to photograph the event, and Jake, ever the opportunist, had managed to wrangle an invitation. He cornered me by the bar, his breath reeking of expensive scotch, ready to drop this little lesbian phase and come back to a real man. He slurred something in me, snapped all the fear, all the doubt, all the pain he'd caused me over the years, boiled over. Listen carefully, Jake. I hissed, my voice low and dangerous. I am not yours. I never truly was. What Mia and I have is real and beautiful and stronger than anything you could ever offer, so back the hell off, or I swear to God I will ruin you. I stormed off, leaving him gaping in my wake as I weaved through the crowd. I spotted a familiar face, Mia, looking stunning in a black dress. Our eyes met across the room, and in that moment I knew no more hiding, no more running. I crossed the room in long strides, took Mia in my arms, and kissed her deeply right there in front of Nashville's Alight. Cameras flash, gasps echoed, but I didn't care when we finally parted, both breathless. I cued Mia's face in my hands. I love you, I said loud enough for everyone to hear, and I'm done letting anyone come between us. Mia's smile was radiant. It's about damn time. She laughed, pulling me in for another kiss. As we left the gala hand in hand, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Jake and his threats seemed small and insignificant in the face of our love. We had weathered the storm and come out stronger on the other side. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I knew we'd face them together, our love, a shield against the world. The weeks following the charity gala were a whirlwind of emotions and adjustments. Mia and I were back together, stronger than ever, but the aftermath of our public declaration left us navigating uncharted waters. Nashville's gossip mill was working overtime, and suddenly we found ourselves the talk of the town. Did you see the latest headline? Mia asked one morning, tossing a local magazine onto our bed. The cover screamed, Nashville's hot new power couple photographer Georgia Thompson and her. Music couldn't help but laugh. Well, they're not wrong about the hot part, one teased, pulling Mia close for a kiss. But as much as we tried to make light of it, the constant attention was taking its toll. Every time we stepped out, it felt like all eyes were on us. Some were supportive, others judgmental, but all were watching. Maybe we should get out of town. For a bit, I suggested one evening as we cuddled on the couch, take a break from all this madness. Mia's eyes lit up. I've always wanted to see the fall colors in the Smoky Mountains, she said wistfully, and just like that, our impromptu getaway was planned. We packed up the car and hit the road, leaving the chaos of Nashville behind us as the city faded in our rearview mirror. I felt the tension start to melt away. Mia's hand found mine across the center console, and we drove in comfortable silence. The radio playing softly in the background. The cabin we rented was nestled deep in the woods, surrounded by trees, ablaze with autumn colors. As soon as we stepped out of the car, the crisp mountain air filled our lungs, carrying with it the scent of pine and wood smoke. It's perfect, Mia breathed, her eyes wide as she took in the scenery. I wrapped my arms around her from behind, resting my chin on her shoulder. You're perfect, I murmured, pressing a kiss to her neck. That first night we made love by the fireplace, our bodies bathed in the warm glow of the flames. It felt like rediscovering each other away from the prying eyes and whispers of the city. The days that followed were filled with lazy mornings and bed-long hikes through the colorful forests, and evenings spent curled up together, talking about everything and nothing. One afternoon, as we sat on the cabin's porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant hues, Mia turned to me with a serious expression. Georgia, she said softly, I've been thinking my heart skipped a beat about what love. She took a deep breath. About us, about our future. I know we haven't been together that long, but I can't imagine my life without you. I felt tears prick at my eyes, Mia. But she pressed a finger to my lips, silencing me. Let me finish. I'm not proposing or anything. She laughed nervously. Not yet anyway, but I want you to know that I'm all in. Whatever comes our way, whatever challenges we face, I'm here for the long haul. I pulled her into a fierce kiss, pouring all my love and devotion into it. When we finally parted, both breathless, I rested my forehead against hers. I'm all in too, I whispered. You're it for me. Muckin' that night, our love making took on a new intensity. Every touch, every kiss felt like a promise, a commitment to our shared future. We explored each other's bodies with a reverence that bordered on worship, our passion building to a crescendo. that left us both trembling and sated as we lay tangled together. Afterward, the moonlight streaming through the window, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. This was where I belonged. This was home, but our idyllic retreat couldn't last forever. Reality came crashing back in the form of a phone call. Call from my agent, Georgia. Darling Margie's voice crackled through the speaker. I hope I'm not interrupting your little love nest getaway. But we've got a situation. I sat up, instantly alert. What's wrong? Well, it seems your little coming out party at the gala has stirred up quite the hornet's nest. Some of our more conservative clients are threatening to pull their contracts. My heart sank. I'd known there might be consequences, but I hadn't expected it to hit so close to home. But Margie continued, a hint of excitement creeping into her voice. For every client we've lost, we've gained two more. Seems you've become quite the LGBTQ icon overnight. I've got offers pouring in for everything from fashion shoots to documentary projects. I blinked, stunned. Are you serious, honey? I'm as serious as a heart attack. Now I need you to get your cute little butt back to Nashville as soon as possible. We've got some big decisions to make about your career trajectory. As I hung up, Mia looked at me questioningly. I filled her in on the conversation, watching as her expression shifted from concern to excitement. Georgia, this is huge, she exclaimed. Think of all the good we could do, the representation we could provide. I nodded slowly, the possibilities starting to take shape in my mind. We could use our platform to make a real difference. Mia's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Exactly, we could showcase LGBTQ stories, highlight issues that often get overlooked. Her excitement was contagious, and soon we're both caught up in planning and dreaming. The thought of using our love story to inspire others to make a positive impact in the world filled me with a sense of purpose I'd never experienced before. As we packed up to head back to Nashville, I felt a mix of emotions. Part of me was sad to leave our mountain sanctuary, but another part was eager to face this new chapter. Hidden ready for this? I asked Mia as we loaded the last of our bags into the car. She smiled, reaching out to lace her fingers with mine. With you, I'm ready for anything. The drive back to the city was filled with animated conversation as we brainstormed ideas for future projects. By the time the Nashville skyline came into view, we had a rough outline for a photo series celebrating diverse love stories. As we pulled up to our apartment, I turned to Mia, suddenly overcome with emotion. Thank you, I said softly. She looked at me puzzled. For what? For everything. For loving me, for standing by me, for inspiring me to be better. Mia's eyes softened. She leaned in, pressing a gentle kiss to my lips. Always, she whispered. Hand in hand, we walked into our home, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. Our love had weathered its first real storm and emerged stronger for it. Now it was time to share that strength with the world. The Nashville skyline glittered in the distance as I adjusted my camera, framing the perfect shot. Beside me, Mia stood with her hand on my shoulder, a comforting presence in the cool autumn air. We were perched on a hilltop, overlooking the city, preparing for what might be the most important shoot of my career. You ready for this? Mia asked, her voice a mix of excitement and nerves. I took a deep breath, inhaling the scent of fallen leaves and possibility. As ready as I'll ever be. It had been 6 months since I returned from the Smoky Mountains, 6 months of whirlwind changes and new beginnings. The photo series we dreamed up in that mountain cabin had blossomed into something far beyond our initial vision. Love in all its colors. We called it a celebration of diverse relationships that had captured the nation's attention. Today, we were shooting the final installment, and in a twist that still made my heart race, Mia and I were the subjects. As I set the timer on my camera and hurried back to Mia's side, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we'd come. The controversy that had surrounded our relationship had faded into background noise, overshadowed by the positive impact of our work. We'd given a voice to those who had long been silenced, shone a light on love stories that society had too often ignored. What are you thinking about? Mia murmured, wrapping her arms around my waist as we posed I smiled, losing myself in the warmth of her embrace. Just how lucky I am, I replied, leaning in for a kiss just as the camera clicked later. As we reviewed the photos, I knew we'd captured something special there. We were silhouetted against the Nashville sky, our love evident in every line of our bodies, every touch of our hands. It was raw, real, and beautiful. It's perfect. Mia breathed, her eyes shining with unshed tears. I nodded too, choked up to speak. This photo would be the centerpiece of our upcoming gallery show, the culmination of months of hard work and emotional investment. As we packed up our equipment, a comfortable silence fell between us. The weight of what we'd accomplished, of what we'd become, settled around us like a warm blanket. The drive back into the city was filled with quiet anticipation. Tomorrow, we'd hang the photos in the gallery. In a week, we'd open the doors to the public, but tonight was just for us. We picked up takeout from our favorite day place and headed home, both of us too, keyed up to cook. As we sat on our balcony sharing spring rolls and pad thai, the conversation flowed easily between us, jumping from work to dreams to silly jokes. Mia said, setting down her wine glass. A year ago, I never would have imagined this. I raised an eyebrow. What, eating lukewarm pad thai on a Wednesday night? She laughed, swatting my arm playfully. No, you goof, this us, everything we've built together. I caught her hand, bringing it to my lips for a soft kiss. I know what you mean. It's been one hell of a ride. Mia's eyes soft, her thumb tracing patterns on my palm. Do you ever wonder what's next for us? The question hung in the air, full of possibility. I thought about the small velvet box hidden in my desk drawer, the plans I'd been quietly making, but now wasn't the time. Not yet. I don't know, I said honestly, but whatever it is, I know I want to face it with you. Mia smiled, that radiant smile that never failed to make my heart skip a beat. Me too, she whispered, leaning in for a kiss that tasted of wine and promise. Later that night, as we lay tangled in our sheets, I found myself wide awake, my mind buzzing with thoughts of the future. Mia slept peacefully beside me, her breath warm against my neck. Carefully, so as not to wake her, I slipped out of bed and padded to the living room. The photos from our shoot were spread out on the coffee table, a visual testament to our journey. I picked up my favorite, a candid shot of Mia laughing, her head thrown back, joy radiating from every pore. It was moments like these, I realized, that made everything worth it. The struggles, the fears, the uncertainty, all of it paled in comparison to the love we'd found. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the windows, I made my way back to bed. Mia stirred as I slipped under the covers, her arms automatically reaching for me. Everything okay? She murmured sleepily. I pressed kiss to her forehead, pulling her close. Everything's perfect, I whispered, and it was not because our life was without challenges or because we had all the answers, but because we had each other and the strength of our love to guide us through whatever lay ahead. As I drifted off to sleep, my mind wandered to the future, the gallery, opening, the projects we had planned, the adventures yet to come, and somewhere down the line, a quiet moment on a beach at sunset, a ring burning a hole in my pocket, and a question that would change everything. But for now, this was enough, this moment. This love, this life we were building together, it was more than enough. It was everything. The sun rose over Nashville, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. Another day dawned, full of promise and possibility. And as Mia and I slept wrapped in each other's arms, the world outside continued to turn, changed in small but significant ways by the love story of a photographer and her muse. Our tale wasn't over in many ways. It was just beginning, but that, dear reader, is a story for another day.